Right, here we are. I think we're on class 6 now. I hope you're all still well, keeping yourself busy. It's lovely to hear from you all, so keep sending me messages. Let me know how you're getting on. Let me know if there's any particular moves that I haven't done that you want to do. None of them require lying down doing nothing, so don't even try that one. So yeah, let's get going. So lying down, just check your space first, don't forget. Get rid of any pets that are going to get in your way or any partners that are going to get in your way. Check you've got enough space. You've got your mat if you want it, cushion, towel, block to sit on. Apparently grapefruit is a good alternative to the blue weight, in a tin obviously, not loose. So right, let's get going. So lying down on your mats. Relax the shoulders. Have your knees bent or legs straight, whichever suits you to start with. Just let your body relax so you can reset to your neutral. So lying still and breathing nice and deep. Just allowing your body to relax for a few seconds so you can reset, ready to start working. Check any tension in your neck and shoulders. Reset yourself as you need to. And then when you're ready, and start to turn your head from side to side. Enjoying that little bit of pressure on the back of the head. A little bit of stretch in the neck muscles. Now remember, particularly in the warm-up, all the way through the class, but particularly in the warm-up, don't force your body into a position that it very clearly doesn't want to go into. You'll just hurt yourself. So you'll find as you start to move, your range of motion, the amount you can move, will improve, will increase as your body loosens into the move. Allow a stretch in the neck. One more each side. Good. And then we'll get into the shoulders. So relax the neck and shoulders. I'm going to start with my right arm. You start with whichever one you fancy. Elbow bent to start with, and then you're going to stir around. You might feel a little bit tight to start with. I'm just going to do about 5 circles in this direction. And then we're going to reverse it. If your hand doesn't feel comfortable on your shoulder, you can just lift your hand away from your shoulder. And if the shoulder is still feeling tight, then just go back to the first direction and repeat it. Otherwise, you can straighten the arm then if you want to, depending on how much space you've got. Keep the ribcage pulled down, so you're just starting to increase the work coming out of that shoulder. If you've got your legs bent, keep your knees hip distance apart. And then we're going to reverse that again. Just working into this one side. The opposite side of your body is just in contact with the mat, so you're not tipping over to the right. One more, and then we'll move on to the left. So start with the arm bent. Circle around. It's just lighter with the arm bent, so you're not putting too much work into the shoulder to start with. One more, and then we're going to reverse the circle. So we're doing about 5 in each direction, thereabout. It's not a magic number, it's just an easy number to remember for me. And then you can go back to your first direction with the arm bent or with the arm straight. Keep some pressure on the right side of your body as you start to move this left arm, so you're not tipping your weight over to the left. One more, and then we're going to reverse the circle again. Check that you're not pushing too heavy into your head. Okay, and then if your shoulders are feeling that they can do a bit more work, you can bring both arms together. Keep the ribcage pulled down now. So as your arms start to travel back, you squeeze the ribs down towards the hips. So So we're starting to really mobilise across the shoulders now, big circles. And we're going to do one more. And then again we're going to reverse it. Coming around the other way, opening up through the back of the shoulder. And bring your arms down by your sides, reset the shoulders. Then we're going to stretch across the chest, two ways. Slightly easier if you've got any shoulder issues is to lie with your arms out or hands underneath the head. When you've got your hands underneath your head, lift and reset your shoulders so you're not pinching them, and then you're bringing your elbows in and out. So hopefully you can just feel that little squeeze of your shoulder blades coming in towards the spine as your elbows go out towards the mat. We're just trying to reset the upper body. It tends to tip forward and we get very tight across the chest. And then we can hold this stretch. So if you take your elbows out, lift and reset the shoulders if you need to, and stay here and breathe quite deep into your rib cage. 2 or 3 breaths here. A little squeeze of the shoulder blades together. If you don't like holding the moves, you don't have to. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. You can carry on with the in and out. If you are holding it, you're not forcing it. You're just letting your shoulder blades squeeze together and breathe. Okay, and then we're going to go into our twist. Arms out to the side, palms facing up, reset shoulders and hips. You can put the cushion, remember, between your knees just to support the hip joint a little bit, or you can just bring your knees and feet together and you're going to twist from the waist, taking your legs over to one side, turning your head to the opposite direction if you want to, coming back to centre and changing sides. Now, try and stack your feet and you're lengthening through this top hip, so that top leg is trying to ease away from the centre. Good. Your knees don't have to touch the floor, but you want to get this rotation just so we're stretching through these side muscles here, keeping the shoulders down on the floor. And again, if you've got the space and you've got the will to increase the stretch, you can take the legs over and push through that top foot. So you're pushing through your heel, and that's going to bring this hip over a little bit more. Sink the opposite shoulder down and look away from your legs just to help you with that stretch. Back to centre and change. You don't have to do that leg extension if it's too much or if you haven't got the space. Another alternative, as long as you haven't got hip replacement, is to cross the leg over the top. That just gives you a little bit more stretch as well. But we're trying to get this rotation. We get very tight around this centre of the body and around the hips. Sink the opposite shoulder into the floor and push through your heel. And do one more each way. Probably finishing on the other side, so you make sure you do both sides the same amount. And come back to centre. Good. Then we're going to get into the lower back. So you can lie with your feet on the floor and relax into the floor if your back's very tight today, or a little bit more intense is just to bring the knees in. Don't yank them, remember, just let them come in and cradle them round the back, round the front, wherever feels comfortable. You want to feel your back starting to relax into the mat and your bum glute muscles stretching. Breathe. And for a few minutes, okay, a few seconds, you're going to melt into the floor. So let your body go heavy. Find an arm position that suits you where you can support the legs and allow them to sink into your belly and your back to sink into the floor. You might want to reset your head if your neck's feeling a little bit tight. And you might want to stay here. If your back's very tight, you might just find just lying still, passive stretch is suiting you. Or if you're a bit of a fidgeter and you're already starting to feel your feet moving around and you want to do something else, you start to rock. Straighten the back, flex and straighten as you sink. Good this one if you get a lot of pinching around the bottom of the spine, because as your knees come away from you, they only need to go arm's length. Your weight will be almost at the bottom of your spine and you'll just get rid of all that tension that builds up, and then you can go round and massage around the hips if you want. Finding those knots and tight bits. I know a lot of you are doing a lot of gardening in this weather, so you're going to be tightening those backs and hips, so massaging it out. And then we're going to get into the legs, so put your feet down, reset hips and shoulders, make sure you're comfortable on your mat. And then we're going to start to work the legs. So to start with, you're just going to straighten, stretch through the leg and bend. Now it might be a bit crampy at first, that calf, so don't push through the heel until the leg feels loose enough. So, but when it does, push through the heel, pull the toes towards you. Start to think about keeping this spine neutral now. So you've got your weight almost at the bottom of your spine, you've got a straight line down your front. That corset is switched on, holding you still, and then you're starting to work the leg muscles. When this feels a little bit easier, when you stretch the leg, add a little ankle circle on. Move your foot around in a couple of circles in each direction to start getting the lower leg muscles working as well. Good. Stretch. Very good if you are finding you're getting a bit of cramp. Do this more often. And then you've got the choice. So if you find that having your leg on the floor suits you, just carry on with this. Or we're going to come up. So the next option is bring one leg to about 90 degrees and stretch up through the leg. Put it down, same on the other. So you come into your knee fold 90-degree position and pushing upwards. Leg might not straighten, almost certainly won't at first, so don't worry about that. Try and avoid that temptation to push forward just to get the legs straight, because we're trying to stretch these hamstrings. So let the pelvis tilt back a bit if it needs to, and push up through the foot. You're trying to push a hole in the ceiling. And again, when that feels easier, you can hold that stretch and circle your foot a couple of times. I only do this one so you can see my socks. It's the only reason this exercise is in there. Circle round. You might have a bit of creaking from your knees. Creaking's alright as long as it's not painful creaking. It's just creaking. Push up. If it is painful creaking, then bring the move down. Try the leg along the floor instead. Now, while we're doing this, we're stretching the hamstrings and we're starting to work these front thigh muscles. So to start to work them a little bit more if you can, when you lift the leg, use these thigh muscles. So imagine the knee trying to come towards your nose. So you're using these thigh muscles to pull the leg a little bit. It won't move a lot, but you'll start to increase the stretch on the back of the leg. Those of you with strong legs, be careful, because there's a temptation to push with the foot on the floor. I actually get some people lift their backside off the floor. It's not that. You're just using these thigh muscles just to bring the leg a little bit closer. These front thigh muscles are squeezing, bringing the leg a little bit closer. Give a good stretch on these hamstrings. Those of you who are starting to do a bit more cycling now, because you get a bit more out of your free time outside, so you might be doing a bit of cycling, you're going to find your hamstrings are a bit tight. And then you can bring both feet off the floor again and just cradle the back of the legs. Separate your knees about shoulder distance. Have your knees bent. It's a nice stretch for the hips. And if you want a deeper stretch, straighten the legs a little bit and hold the calf muscles. Or hold the toes. Push up through your hands, relax your shoulders down. Bend and stretch the legs from there. Do it from the calf or the back of the thigh if you prefer. And with all these moves, I don't want anybody to be bored, so I'm going to give lots of different options and challenges, but take the challenge to the level that's right for you today. You can always come back and have another go, do another day and do a bit more. Pull your feet down, have a good stretch out. Lengthen the body. And then we're going to do some seated work. So bend the knees, hands underneath the small of your back, palms down, and push yourself up from there. Alternatively, roll over onto one side and push yourself up from there. Sit, I'm just going to have a quick slurp. Right, now sitting, as you know, it's quite difficult on the floor because your heels and bum are on the same level. So it's quite a challenge if your hamstrings are a little bit tight. So if you've got a block, a cushion, a rolled up towel, roll the mat up, whatever you need to lift your hips a little bit higher. If you find you're in a bit of a rounded spine, you want to sit up straight. Your legs will help, change position of your legs. You might find having your knees bent or ankles crossed might be a bit more comfortable. If you're comfortable with your legs straight, then that's fine. Just rest on your fingertips to start with behind you and lift your bum off the floor a couple of times and put it back down. So you're sitting on your sitting bones. Keep those fingers behind you and puff your chest out a bit. So your shoulders just slide down your back just slightly and then wind your neck in a bit. We tend to sit slumped forward. So lift your chest slightly, slide your shoulders down your back and pull your head back a smidge so your ears are sitting over your shoulders. And just sit still for a second, just to give your body time to get used to being stacked through the spine. Breathe. Now to support yourself here, these good old core muscles have got to work. So pull your belly button in a little bit and zip up from underneath. And then we're going to do a bit of twisting. No, we're going to do a bit of Beetle and Angel first. I forgot that one. So bend your knees. Let your arms come forward and let your back go into a C shape. So your tailbone tucks under slightly, your chin tucks in, then the spine round, and then check your ornaments. You're going to sit up straight, stack the spine, take your arms out and squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then you're going to let your arms come forward again, rest on your legs, tucking your chin in, letting your spine sit back into a C shape. And then up again, stack the spine from tailbone to crown, draw the shoulders back. So you're just going to do that at your pace. You might want to stay in one of the positions a little bit longer than I do. You might want to move out of the position a little bit quicker than I do. But you're opening up through the front and back of the body. When you sit into your rounded shape, breathe through your back. Open up that rib cage. When you sit up and take your arms out, pull your shoulders back and down and lift your chest and breathe through the front of your chest cavity. I'm going to do 2 more of these. Good. Hopefully you've got enough space to really extend through your arms. Okay. And then put your right hand down on the floor, just rest on your fingers, and you're going to rotate in that direction. So you're going to send your chest to the right, reach your head for the ceiling. Keep your sitting bones on the floor underneath you. Come back to centre, same the other way. So left hand on the floor, rotate the torso towards the left. I'm going to do this facing the camera, otherwise I'm talking to the wall. No. Keep reaching your head for the ceiling and you're rotating your chest but not your hip. So as you turn, your opposite hip sinks into the floor. Resting on your fingers, so not too much weight on that arm behind you. It's just there to allow the shoulder and hip to remain lined up. Now, if that stretch is feeling easier, as you rotate around, stay there. So you've rotated your chest to the side of the room and stay there for a full breath in and a full breath out, sinking the opposite hip into the mat. So I want you to lean over. Once more each side. Really rotating through this upper spine. can have a rest. And then we're going to stretch the chest muscles a little bit. So again, starting, just resting on your fingers behind you. Not too much weight on these fingertips, just to give you a bit of support from behind. Reach your head for the ceiling, reset your sitting bones underneath you, and then you're going to pull your shoulder blades together and down, so your chest lifts a little bit. Breathe deep, and then relax. So we're trying to work on this upper body alignment, so we're pulling the shoulders together and down and lifting the chest. Try not to push back on your fingers, just use them to give you a bit of support. Pull back and down, take a deep breath in, and relax. One more. And you can stay with this version, or if you want to work a little bit deeper into the stretch, put your hands flat to the floor, fingers facing you. Your weight is going to stay on the heels of your hands. So if you just drum your fingers, that's the amount of pressure you want in your fingers all the time. So you pull your shoulder blades together, slide them down your back, and you feel your ribcage lift away from your belly. Breathe in deep and relax. So it's making the back muscles work harder. So you squeeze the shoulder blades together, slide them down your back, keep your elbows as bent as you can, and lift the torso. Nice deep breath and relax. And you're going to start to feel that down your arms as well. Lifting up. You can lift your chin if that suits you as well, to stretch the throat. Maybe a couple more. Pull back and down and lift the torso, breathing in to increase the stretch. Good. Last one. And your arms have probably had enough, so if you sit up and forward, you'll feel those shoulders have had a good stretch. So then we're going to do the back of the shoulder. Now the next one, I'm going to get you to reach forward and over your foot. So if you find that difficult, the alternative is to put your hand under, so your opposite hand goes under the leg and you press against the calf. That will give you the same stretch in the shoulder. So ignore the rest of it and do that if you find reaching your foot just gets too much. Otherwise, so sit up nice and straight on your sitting bones, knees comfortably bent. I'm going to use my right arm, so I'm going to lift my left toes towards me, heel on the floor, and then I'm going to reach over with my right hand and hold the side of my foot. Nice firm grip on the side of the foot. I'm going to rotate my torso towards the left, so I'm looking towards the left, but my head comes back to look at my foot. And just a gentle pull against the side of the foot. And you're looking for a stretch in the back of the shoulder. Breathe deep. If you want to increase the stretch, be careful that you haven't locked your elbow. If you want to increase the stretch, as you pull against your foot, breathe deeper into your back. And then start to, as you pull against your foot, start to push your foot against your hand as you breathe deep. And you're looking for a stretch down the back of the shoulder, the neck, and across the upper back. The breathing is key, so the more you can breathe into your back, the deeper the stretch will be. So those of you who've been doing lots of gardening, you're going to feel that. So keep rotating the torso away and pulling. And then release that shoulder. Get a few circles, it should feel a little bit looser. Same on the other side. So pull the toes towards you, reach over, hold the outside of your foot. Rotate your torso away. Again, I'll do it this way so I'm not talking to the wall. Rotate your torso away, but bring your gaze back to your foot. And a little bit of pressure, so pull a little bit on the foot and breathe deep. I'll turn this way. You might be able to see what I'm talking about. So rotate the torso and breathe. And if you want to increase the stretch, push your foot against your hand. Keep rotating the chest. And this, you can see now why this is a really difficult one to teach, because there's nothing to see. And when I teach it, I get a room full of people going, because you're just in that stretch. So then you release, Hopefully the shoulder feels a little bit looser. Okay, I'll come back this way. I think the light's better this way, so I'll come back facing this way. So just give those shoulders a nice roll. And then we've got our leg pull front. We like leg pull front. Right, so leg pull front is a tough move. I'll remind you of the options and then I'll instruct you. So the options will be table position, one leg straight or both legs straight. If you've looked at that and thought, oh yeah, I remember that one, it's not for me, repeat what we've done so far. So we've done a bit of the equine angel, we've done a little bit of twisting, we've done a bit of chest stretching, we've done a little bit of shoulder stretching. So repeat any of those that you thought were doing you some good. Otherwise, come to your leg pull. So again, I'll give you options. Hands on the floor, face your fingers whichever way is right for your shoulder, and get your arms the right distance apart. So you might take a bit of trial and error to get your arms supporting you properly. Feet flat on the floor, shoulders back and down, so chest is lifted, belly muscles are tight, little bit of pressure through your feet and your hands to lift your bum off the floor, and as your bum starts to lift, straighten out at the hip. So you come into an upside down table. Hold it for a breath. Push through the feet, push through the hands, and then sit your hips down. When you sit down, make sure you haven't slid forward because your shoulders will be taking too much load. So hands and shoulders lined up, ready to start again. Pull the shoulders back and down, clench the belly muscles, push through the feet, push through the hands all at the same amount and lift and stretch. Hold it for a breath and back down. And if that felt like the right level for you, repeat. The next option is one leg straight. This I think is easier for people with tight hips. So you've got one leg bent, pull the shoulders back and down just the same. Use the bent leg, push down through that foot and your hands and lift your hips. Lengthen through that straight leg. Point your toes if it's not going to give you cramp. Push down through your hands. Hold it for a breath or two and sit. And then change legs. So straighten the other leg. Push through the hands and the bent leg. Lift, lengthen the spine. Lengthen through the straight leg, push down through the hands and down. And again, if that feels like the right amount of work, repeat 2 or 3 of those. Or have both legs straight. Now your arms are going to have to do more work because your legs can't now. So pull the shoulders back, squeeze the buttocks, start to lift the hips. Push through your heels a little bit, through your hands a lot, point your toes and lift yourself up. Lift that torso, hold it for a breath or 2 and down. You've got to pull the shoulders back and down, otherwise you won't lift. Lengthen through the front of the body. That torso is going up. Breathe deep, squeeze the buttocks, push through those arms. And down. You're going to do me 2 more if you can. Go back to the other options if that feels too much. Lift up, push through the heels, the hands, squeeze the buttocks, lifting yourself up to the ceiling or the sky if you're doing it outside. And down, last one, shoulders back and down and lift. We're getting warm. Great strength for your arms this. And down. And then sit yourself up, bring your body forward, give yourself a bit of a hug. And then just lie down. So that works quite a lot on the upper body. So now we're going to give the legs a work. So you're going to lie down, grab yourself a drink on the way if you want. You might want your cushion under your head. Lie yourself down on your mat. Reset the shoulders and the hips. So you want to try and keep the pressure underneath all the parts of your body that are touching the floor pretty much the same now. So imagine lying on your water. On the float on the water, keeping it level. So we'll start with our marching. So find your neutral, tilt the pelvis about until you've got straight line down the front, relax the shoulders back and down, and then zip up. Pull your belly button to your spine, draw the waist in, draw the pelvic floor as if you put on a tight pair of trousers. And you're going to keep those trousers on now. And then you're going to lift your right foot just about an inch off the floor. Hold it there for a breath and put it down. And the same on your left foot. So So remember this, mechanically, there's very little going on compared to what you were just doing sitting. But what we're doing here with this exercise is setting our core strength, switching those muscles on. So as we transfer our weight from leg to leg, the pressure underneath our head, shoulders and hips stays the same. So we could float on the water. We're not tilting the body, we're not pushing down on one part more than the other. So we're just getting our balance sorted on this move. So the foot doesn't lift very far, and when I do this move, I do it with my eyes closed because I really want to focus inwards on where my weight is sitting, how my body's responding to basically standing on one leg. So we're building up strength around the pelvic area of the spine, and we're starting to use the hips. And you can stay with this. Marching is a really good exercise. If you're struggling with the pelvic control and the body's kind of rocking around, stay with the marching. But if you're happy with it and you want to come develop the move, then we come to knee fold. So we've got single knee fold, so we lift the right leg and we keep lifting to about 90 degrees at the hip and 90 degrees at the knee. Hold it for about 5 seconds. And then we put the foot to the floor. So what we're doing now is using the leg muscles to lift and work at the hip and work at the knee. Pelvis is neutral, spine is neutral. So again, the pressure underneath the head, shoulders and hips is exactly the same as we lift the leg. Check that you are bending your knee. If, like me, you've got tight quads, there's a tendency to lift the foot a bit too high. Make sure you are bending the knee, so these quad muscles have to stretch and work a little bit more. And this is level 1 knee fold, just 1 foot off the floor. Useful if you're new to knee fold or Pilates in general. Useful if you've got any back issues or you're pregnant, just stay in level 1. Still working. If you want level 2 though, bring the one leg up. Now, bring the second leg, for a lot of us, me included, is quite hard because of the shape of my back. So what you can do is tilt the pelvis back a little bit. It just helps support your back to bring the second leg up. And we want the leg to float. Still got 90 degrees at the hip, 90 degrees at the knee, parallel lines with the legs, shoulders relaxed. And we're going to stay here for our 5 seconds. And then we're going to put the feet to the floor one at a time. So this is where I want the legs to float. So you lift the one leg, you bring the knee a bit closer if your back feels a bit awkward, and then you float the second leg up to join it. Shoulders relaxed, no pressure in the arms, zipped up through the centre, and then float the feet to the floor. So it doesn't look jerky, it doesn't look difficult. For people watching, it doesn't look like there's any work involved at all. We know differently. And we're building up strength in the leg muscles, strength in the torso, flexibility in the hips. And do me one more. Breathe through that rib cage, tighten the belly. And then to release that one, put your feet down and just lift your hips up and down a couple of times because that just works your hip flexors. And we're going to work them again in a minute, so just lift and lower your hips, not to a full bridge, but just to release the tension in the hips a bit. And then we've got our scissors to do, and again scissors, it's a tough move, so it's broken down into 3 levels. Maybe we'll just do 2 levels today, feeling a bit lazy, but it's broken down anyway. So level 1, bring the leg to 90 degrees, so your knee fold position, reset your hips. Now the angle of the knee is going to stay the same. We're only going to move from the hip joint. So we're going to bring the leg towards us a bit, and we're going to move the leg away until the foot just taps, the toes just tap the floor. Working just through that hip joint, so we're coming in and out. I'm going to do about 5 on level 1, and then on the same on the other leg, and then I'll do level 2 if you want it. So you dip in, using these thigh muscles to pull the leg in and out. Pelvis is remaining nice and fixed, pressure underneath the head, shoulders and hips the same. So when I've done 5-ish on that leg, I'm going to flip over to the other leg. It isn't a straighten and bend, it's not working the knee at all. The knee is locked at 90 degrees. We are moving the foot using the hip joint. Yeah, we will do 3 levels, I've decided. 3. I'll do another couple. And if that feels like it's work, I can feel it's work, and you want to repeat it, just keep repeating that move, 5 on each leg, keep repeating it. If you want to work to the next level, come to double knee fold, so one leg up, tilt the pelvis, bring the other leg up, so you've got both feet off the floor. Now your legs are going to scissor. So as one knee comes towards you, the other knee moves away. Your foot might not touch the floor now, it doesn't matter. I need this centre really tight. So it's kind of like a strange running motion from the hip joint. Squeeze that centre. Check the pressure underneath your head now that you're not pushing back. Lengthen the spine, squeeze the centre muscles. It's a much harder move, and the bigger the gap between your knees, the harder you're working. So the more sort of running you've got going on in these hips, the harder the work. I'm going to do another couple. And you can have a rest. Now you might have decided that's enough, thank you very much. Have a rest or a couple of hip lifts, or repeat what we've done. If you want the next option, the third option, come to your double knee fold and push the ceiling away. So push your feet upwards and pull your toes back. So it kind of looks like your feet are sliding along the ceiling now, and you're going to slide your right foot towards you as your left foot slides away, and then alternate. You're sliding. And again, the bigger the gap between your feet, the more the core muscles work. Relax the shoulders. Use these leg muscles. Pull the leg towards you. Push the leg away from you. Squeeze that centre. Knees can have a soft bend in them. They're going to be locked straight, but check you're not pushing with your arms or with your head. Use these leg muscles. Told you we're going to get the legs involved. Going to do me 2 more. 1, 2. And then hook your knees in. Well done. Hip lifts will feel good after that one. So put your feet down on the floor. Put the cushion between your knees if you want to. I don't want anything other than your mat underneath your head now. So you want a nice long neck. Have your feet, your heels quite close to your bum, and set your arms on the floor. What we don't want to do is slide along the floor, especially if you're short of space. I don't want your head wedged against the wall behind you. So set your shoulders on your mat, set your hands on your mat, squeeze your bum muscles and lift your hips and put them down again. So to start with, we're not going to hold, we're just going to go up and down just to stretch out these leg muscles after the last work. So clench the bum and lift. Now you're going to carry on with this while I remind you of the most common mistake on this move. We get the bum and the belly mixed up. So when I say squeeze the bum, some people squeeze the belly and tilt the pelvis back, which means they come up through their lower back. You'll feel it feels awkward. Set your neutral, clench your buttocks together, and then lift from a neutral position. So the front abdominal muscles aren't doing too much work. So squeeze and lift. And again, you've got options. You can stay with this. This is a good way of mobilising the front of these hips and quads if they're all a bit tight, so you're just going up and down. But you can build the strength by coming up to your bridge, set your shoulders, set your feet, a little bit more pressure through the feet, clench the buttocks, and then lift the arms. So you lift your hands up to the ceiling, float your arms back, keep those hips lifted, push through those knees. Bring your arms back up to the ceiling, and as you push down through your hands, you lower your hips back to the floor. You might need to reset if you've slid along your mat. So set your arms on the floor, set your feet, clench and lift. Keep your feet just pressing down enough for stability, and float your arms up. Let your arms float back. Just push a little way through the knees to stretch these quads. Raise your arms back up to the ceiling and start to push down with your arms and lower your body. Do 1 more of these. Lift, set your feet, set your shoulders, reach up, and reach back, stretch through those legs. I'm going to add on from here if you want to. So bring your arms back up to the ceiling, keep your hips lifted as you lower and push your hands back to the floor. Might need to readjust your feet so you can feel that you've got your feet supporting you. A little bit more pressure on the right foot to allow you to lift your foot off the floor and come to knee fold. Put your left foot back to the floor, a little bit of pressure through your left foot to hold you up as you lift your right leg to knee fold. Put your foot back and lower your hips. And do that again. So you come up to your bridge, hold your bridge, push a little bit through your feet for support, float your arms up and back, little stretch through the legs, hold yourself there. Bring your arms back up to the ceiling, keep your hips lifted as you push your arms down into the mat. Reset your feet if you need to. Push down through your right foot a little bit, squeeze your buttock, lift your left foot up to your bent leg knee fold position. Push through that right leg, keep those hips up. Put your left foot down, keep the hips lifted, push through the left foot to allow you to lift the right foot. Put your foot down, lower to the floor. One more if you can, but if you've had enough, fair enough. But otherwise, lift, float the arms up, squeeze the buttocks and push through the legs. Lift the arms back up to the ceiling, keep the hips up, push the arms down into the floor. Weight on your right foot, lift your left. Push down through that right foot, lifting that left knee. Back to the floor with the left foot, push down, lift the right foot. Can you feel your bum muscles working? And put your right foot down, put your bum down, draw your knees to your chest. That's a toughie. Hug in. If you want to stretch your back, as long as you've got no osteoporosis or slip disc, with your knees bent, you can hug your knees and curl your nose towards your knees. Rounding your spine a little bit and knees back down. If you want to, just for an extra bit of stretch. If it just feels like it's work, you don't want to do it, don't do it. Just quite nice to stretch the back after that one. One more of these. Put your feet down, have a nice little lengthen out through the spine. Circle your feet and your wrists if you want to, get your breath back. Then we're going to do some hands and knees work, which is going to work the shoulders and the hips together. Oh goody. So sit up, either hands underneath you, palms facing down, and push yourself up to sitting, or over onto your side, bring yourself up to sitting. Grab a drink on your way, and then we'll do some hands and knees. So, I want to scoot my legs around. I think the light's better this way today, so I'm coming to this end of my mat. Hands underneath the shoulders. Put your towel or your cushion underneath your hands, or roll your mat up a few times if your wrists are feeling a bit sore. Same with the knees if you want to. If you really don't want to be on your hands and knees, you can go back to sitting and do that bend and stretch that we did at the beginning. But hands if you can, just to keep your arms strong. So cat and cow to start with. Curl your back, so tuck your tailbone under, tuck your chin in, and try and make yourself into a ball. Puff up through your spine, push down through your hands. Breathe through your back. Straighten back out. Let your belly drop down, it's like a hammock sort of feeling. Your tailbone lifts, your shoulders slide back and down, and you can ease your chin forward. And straighten out. So the curl is making your spine into a C shape. Tucking your chin in, tucking your tailbone under, puffing out through the spine. If you push down a little bit through your arms, that will help. Straighten out. Let your belly go heavy, sink it down. Stick your bum out, stick your chest out in front, slide your shoulders. Remember, I know some of you find this arch in the back difficult to do from here. So remember, the alternative is to do a few rounding and straightening your back. That will loosen it a bit. And then come up onto your knees and puff your chest out from there. If you find I think it's quite an awkward mechanical move to do this. It's not something we do generally. So if your back doesn't want to do it, come up onto your knees instead. All I want you to do is flex and stretch the back, whichever way works for you. Now those of you who are happy on your hands and knees, we can add a few knee hovers. Got my H's in the wrong place then. We can add a few knee hovers on if you want. So you round the spine, tuck under, push down through your arms, tuck your chin in, straighten back out, let your belly drop, puff your chest out in front, stick your bum out, lift your chin, then come back to neutral. Tuck your toes if you want to, push down through your hands, tighten your belly and lift your knees about an inch. Breathe through those ribs, push the floor away with your arms. Put your knees down, relax your toes back into your cat and cow. So you do one bending, one stretching, come back to centre, push and lift. The smaller the lift of those knees, the better. So we don't want them very far off the floor. We want to use this upper body. Push the floor away with your arms. Hold it for about 5 seconds if you can. Then knees back to the floor, feet relaxed, back into your bend and stretch, whichever order you would like to do it in. Come back to neutral before you lift the knees. So crown of head pointing forward, tailbone pointing back, spine stacked, toes tucked if that suits you. Push the floor away with your arms and lift the knees. Breathe through your rib cage. Good. I'm going to do one more of these. Smash in, then we're going to have a rest for a second. Then we're going to go into our 3/4 plank. So for our rest, if it suits you, bring your big toes together and your knees apart and lower your hips down towards your heels. You don't have to have your head low. You can keep your arms quite straight if that suits you. Otherwise, you can go down onto your elbows or you can go down onto your head, whatever suits you. But it's to stretch out the hips more than anything else. Good stretch for the ankles as well, if you can sit a bit of weight into your heels. Then we've got our 3/4 plank into our child's pose. So come back to your hands and knees. Bring your hands further forward now, because we're going to travel the hip forward. So bring your hands further forward. Tighten your belly. And start to bring your weight forward onto your hands, pushing the floor away with your hands as you come. Keep your belly tight, tailbone tucks down towards your heels, chest is lifted. Hold it for about 5 seconds, sliding your shoulders away from your ears. Then back up onto your knees and sit your hips back. Don't force them, just as far as they want to go, and you'll feel your back stretching. So you come up, back onto your knees, tighten your belly and push down through your hands to bring your weight forward into your 3/4 plank. Tailbone tucks under, abs tight. I should be able to punch you in the belly at this point. Slide your shoulders down your back. Count to about 5. Push back up onto your knees and sit back, tucking your chin in, a nice stretch for your back. You can lower your chest a little bit more to the floor if you want to. Stretching between those shoulders. I'm going to do one more at this level, then I'm going to give you an option to work harder if you want it. So you come forward, pushing the floor away, tucking the tailbone, keep that chest lifted. Bendy people, don't drop into it. And up and back. And you can stay with this level or you can come to full plank for a couple if you want to. So for full plank, you come up and forward into that 3/4 plank. Check your hands are the right distance apart to support you. Tuck your toes. Lengthen through the crown of your head and straighten your right leg. So you're rested on the ball of your foot. Same on your left leg. Holding your weight, pushing the floor away with your arms. Keep your chest lifted. And then push your hips up. Bringing your nose and your chest in towards your legs a little bit. So you're in a V shape. Push up through your hips. Don't worry about your heels. Come back out to a plank. Hold it. Lengthen through the spine. Push the floor away with your arms. Push your hips back up to the ceiling, so you're making a V shape. Priority is always given to the spine, so I'm not bothered about your heels. I want your bum up in the air. Bringing that chest in a little bit closer to the legs if you can. Pushing the floor away with your arms. Straighten back to your plank. Lengthen and push away with those arms. Put your knees back to the floor and sit back into your stretch. Well done. And we're going to do a nice back stretch. So you're going to lie yourself down on your belly. Move down so you can see me. Bring your arms out in front, not completely straight, just a little bend in the elbow. We're going to go into a little back bend. So hands flat on the floor, push down on your hands and lift your torso away from the floor. Just stretching your back out a little bit. So you've just brought your torso up off the mat and back down. And this is the position if you've got quite a tight lower back. We're just starting to do a very small back bend. Those of you with more flexibility in your back, bend your elbows a bit more and bring your hands maybe level with your ears and push up. See how that feels. But you want to feel that your back is bending. You're not pushing yourself back up into plank. If that feels okay, maybe try your hands a little bit closer, maybe level with your, your neck. See how that feels? Hips must be down on the floor and you're going into a back bend. Gently press the front of the pelvis into the mat, lifting your chest up. If that still feels okay, bring your hands about level with your shoulders and try there. You're looking for that position where you're getting your maximum comfortable lift and stretch. Sliding your shoulders down your back. Arms haven't got to be straight. Closer they are to the body, then the less likely are they to get them fully straight. Lift. Sink the front of your pelvis down into the mat. Slide your shoulders down your back and breathe. Oh, breathing, great. It wasn't hard enough, now I've got to breathe. I'll do the whinging for you because I can't hear you whinging at me. I can imagine it. Slide your shoulders down. You can lift your chin if that feels good or keep your neck neutral if you prefer. Sink your hips into your mat. And I want you to just rest up onto your elbows. So you could read a book here if I gave you one. Relax the shoulders. Keep the front of your pelvis sinking into the mat and your chest lifted. So your back muscles are doing some work. And then start to try and kick yourself in the bum. Now, if you're tight in the hips, what your body will try and do is twist. Or it will stick your bum in the air to try and bring that foot in. So keep the front of the hip down and instead bring your elbows a bit further forward. You can even lie flat if you find it's a real struggle. You want to feel the back of the legs working here. It's a very good hamstring exercise. If you want to work a little bit more into the hips, bring the knees and feet a little bit closer together. Bring that foot in. You can bring it in and hold it in. Lift the torso. So you're imagining the back of your head getting a little bit closer to your foot. As you pull the foot in, press into the front of the hip and lift the chest. Same on the other leg. So you bend it, press down in the front of the hip, lift the chest. And if that feels good, a little bit more engagement with the arms. So press down a little bit into your forearms, lift your torso and bend both legs at the same time. Press down into the front of the hips. And relax. If that's too much, that's quite intense on the hips. So if it's too much, stay with just the one leg. For some of you, if you're a bit more bendy and you've got both legs bent, if you put your hands on the floor, walk your hands a little bit further forward, so palm of your hands down on the floor, press down into the front of those hips with the legs bent and lift your torso a bit higher. Big stretch for the hips. And down. Be sensible. Go with a level that suits you. Some of you will be a lot higher than me, but this is what my body can do, so this is what my body is doing. Do one more. Push the floor away with your arms, press down through your pelvis, peel your torso up, squeeze those bum muscles. And then lie yourself flat for a second or two. Push yourself up onto your hands and knees when you're ready. And you can stay here. This is quite a nice stretch after that one, just literally staying on your hands and knees. And you can move around in a circle as well if you want, just to release everything. I'm going to give you a child's pose stretch or a mermaid stretch as alternative, and then we're going to stand up. So the child's pose stretch, if again you bring your big toes together and sit back on your heels, reach forward with your arms as far as is comfortable for you, so you push your hips back, lengthen the spine, lower the chest down to the mat and breathe. Sink through your feet. Lengthen through your head. You might be able to creep your fingers a little bit further forward, but check your shoulders aren't bunching up round your ears. Then I want you to take your torso over to the right. So you bring both arms and your head over to your, lined up with your right knee. And if you can, put your left hand on top of your right hand and push your hips back. If that's too much, your alternative, your mermaid stretch. So you sit on your bum and you reach your arm over your head. And all we're looking to do is stretch down the side of the body. So your mermaid stretch is your alternative to your child's pose. So I'm doing the child's pose in different positions so you can kind of get an idea what you want. So I need your hips to push back and your torso to go over to the side. And then when you've done the one side, you just do the other side. So you walk your hands over, line your head up with your knee, push your hips back, and if you can, reach the top, put the hand on the top. So if you've gone over to the left, it's your right hand on top of your left hand. And come back to centre, reach the arms forward, the hips back and stretch. Bring yourself back up onto your hands and knees, ready to stand up. Now don't come up too quickly. So from here, if you've got furniture you want to crawl over and lean on, if I've worked you a bit hard you can, or you can come up one foot at a time. If you want to come up both feet at the same time, bring your hands in front of your knees, push down onto the hands, walk yourself back onto your feet, get your feet flat on the floor, into a squat and walk up from your squat. Stack the spine, roll the shoulders. Grab a quick drink if you want. We'll do a little bit of standing up work to finish. So, standing on your mat or on the floor. Remember, if you're on carpet, it's going to be more challenging. So have your feet wide enough apart for balance. Roll the shoulders back. And I just want you to let your weight rock forward and back. So you're just rocking onto the toes, onto the heels. Your feet aren't leaving the floor, but your weight is shifting. So it's making you use the front and back of your body. And then you can lift the heels and the toes if you want to. Reach your head for the ceiling. Spread your toes out. Stretch the toes. Come up a little bit higher if your feet let you. Come down a little bit slower. You can always do this one leg at a time if you find balance isn't as good today. She says falling over, I always fall over at that point. Now reach up to the balls of your feet if you can, look forward, press through your toes, use your calf muscles, hold your balance and float your arms. Reach up through the top of your head. Keep your arms lifted and lower your heels. You're going to bring your arms back and sit back into your squat. Drive your arms forward and up. Get your balance, lift your heels. Keep your arms lifted as you lower your heels to the floor. Bring your arms back into your squat, sit down, sit back into those hips, drive your arms back, drive your arms forward and up. When you're balanced, lift the heels. Slide your shoulders down your back, lift through the crown of your head. Keep your arms lifted, lower the heels once more. Drive back through the arms, sit low. Drive through with the arms, lift yourself and lift your heels. Keep your heels lifted, lift, lift, lift. Arms stay lifted as your heels go down. Bring your arms down. Lovely. Roll the shoulders. Check your light fittings that you're not going to hit any lamps. And a nice big arm circle. Rotate round. Reaching out. Little twist of the shoulder and the hip as long as the knee feels okay. Reaching, sliding your shoulder down your back. Stay looking forward and reach up with both arms and round. Pull that air into your body and push it out. One more and I think we're finished. Reach and down. And you're done. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it helps. Keep letting me know how you're getting on. It's lovely to hear from you all and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.